features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. The thundering herds of nature's greatest spectacle are floating across the wonderful grasslands here in the Masai Mara. This is CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show.
This is absolutely magnificent.
This is happening, folks. This is 100% live.
Here we are. We're watching the migration story unfold. Here's a lion. There's a lion right next to us.
Oh, that was close.
You can't possibly script something like this.
Good morning, and what an epic start it is to our day here in the Serengeti. As you can see, we've got huge herds of wildebeest in accompaniment with some lions that are in the background just watching them. It's like the wildebeest all of a sudden have arrived back in this area. Now, it is a very warm welcome to this CGTN's live Wild Wonderland show. My name is Tristan, and on camera I have got David, and we are coming to you from three epic locations here in Serengeti in Tanzania. We're also in Masai Mara in Kenya, as well as Sabi Sand in South Africa. Now, it is an incredible thing to witness this many wildebeest all of a sudden arriving back and lions being here. But the more incredible thing is that you guys can communicate with us and ask us any questions that you have by using the hashtag CGTNWild or the hashtag Wild Wonderland on Twitter, and you can ask any questions that you would like to know about the African wilderness, and particularly the migration. But these lions have struck it lucky, because they must have been sleeping on these rocks, and these wildebeest have only arrived now. We spotted them from a long way away, and there is thousands and thousands and thousands of them that have walked towards the rocks where they're sitting, and it's almost like a bounty has arrived for them. And the migration actually is an amazing spectacle. It's incredible to see how at points you have nothing, and then all of a sudden the next day there's millions of them around. And so take a look at just how the migration works.
The red oatgrass plains of the Mara Serengeti sway in anticipation. In February, around 400,000 wildebeest are born on the short grass of the Serengeti's southern plains. Just half an hour, the calves have found their feet, and one of nature's greatest journeys begins. From the southern plains, more than 1 million animals move northwest into the Serengeti's western corridor, massing on the banks of the Grumeti River. As the rut ends, the herds gallop north once more. Eventually, 2 million grazers arrive to feast on the abundance of the Masai Mara. It begins with a trickle of the zebra vanguard, enjoying the undisturbed long grass plains, making the first crossings of the turbulent Mara River. Many fall to the rapids and the crocodiles. And then comes the main body of the migration, the thundering herds of white-bearded gnu, bleating songs of chaos in search of green pasture. The herds know the danger, but the call for food is too great. All must take the plunge. Not all will make it. For those that do, hungry prides and clans patrol the banks. For survivors, rich red oatgrass is the reward. Before it's time to cross the river again, as nature's greatest herd follows the life-giving storms and verdant plains of the Mara Serengeti for nourishment.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. My name is Steve, joined by Jandre on camera. I hope you're all having a marvelous morning. We are making our way down to the border, which is just up ahead here. We're going to see if we can follow up on that mating pair of lions from yesterday. So jump on board with us as we go. We've traveled quite some distance to get here. We had some hyenas just before, but they were not very happy staying with us for the camera, so they all moved off. So now we're going to move a little bit further south. We can see herds of wildebeest in the distance. seemingly all on the other side of the border. See what we can find. Well, it seems like James is having a little bit more luck than us so far this morning, and I think he's caught up with the Salt Lake Pride.
We've just managed to spot the Salt Lake Pride and a little sister killer flying in the background, and the Salt Lake Pride is watching this herd. My name is James Hendry. Enormous James remains on camera. There we go. Needs a new glove. And what we're going to do is go up towards those lions. I think they must have killed last night because they looked so interested in trying to catch a wildebeest yesterday evening, and so perhaps there's a kill over there. We've been searching around here since just as it got light, and now we've had some success. Now she's quite far away in some pretty rocky terrain, and so we're going to try and drive there and see if we don't get lucky. Remember to send through any questions or comments that you have to the hashtag CGTNWild or hashtag Wild Wonderland on Twitter. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Any questions or comments you have about the animals or Africa, the migration, anything you want to ask. Gorgeous stuff. A few wildebeest lurking around here. And the way you try and find lions on a day like this, if you don't know where they are, is you search for the gaps in between the herds. So the plains are covered in these wildebeest, and in between them there are these gaps, and sometimes you'll find a predator in them. And the particular area where this lion is not quite grazed flat yet. In fact, it's hardly grazed at all, which means that they have only to lie down to disappear entirely. And there she is. I wonder if the cubs are there. We're going to go and find out. In the meantime, an animal that cannot disappear is an animal that is sitting on a rock.
Well, James, don't be so certain, because animals on rocks also move, and so we're just trying to get ourselves into a little bit of a better position. They're actually on the rock just off on my sort of left hand or my right hand side if I'm facing the camera. We're just trying to find a way of fate, and that's why they've done it. Going to try and find another way around. It's, like I say, not easy because there's a lot of long grass in this area, and so when you're driving it's very, very tricky. Right, so we're going to try and see if we can find a better position. In the meantime though, let's send you across back to James.
Sorry about that technical trouble there. We're going to carry on going. Tristan is going to find some signal and he'll get you a beautiful view of those lions on the rock. We've got our wildebeest, and we're just going to drive now with you towards the lioness in front of us. I don't think we've done any driving with you in the last 10 shows. There hasn't been any necessity for it. So it just gives you an idea of what we do. And we're just going to slowly make our way through this grassland and up towards where the lioness is surveying the herds. She's got a nice angle with the sun. And if she wanted to hunt, this would be not a bad time if she was going to hunt during the day, because she'd have the wildebeest staring straight into the sun and they'd struggle to see her. So it'd be pretty good if she wanted to. And so what we need to also do is just look around in the grass, perhaps for the rest of the pride, because it could be close by. There's another lioness now, just popped her head out, I can see. I suspect quite strongly they ate last night, but we'll see when we get up there. If there's a carcass, or if their faces are full of blood, or if they are perhaps full. Oh, Janine, that's such a nice question, and it's one that I don't know a textbook answer to. But basically, lions, I think, have the instinct to hunt is separate from the instinct to eat. I think it's operated by a separate part of the brain. You know, I don't know a huge about the neurobiology of a lion's brain, but I think the two instincts are different. It's the same as when a house cat, for example, will chase a ball of wool or a toy. They're not trying to eat it. They're chasing it because it's fun to chase and it's fun to play with, right? And I think that's what these lions are doing here. And I think that evolution has blessed the lion with the instinct to hunt and catch as I suppose it's just not the same as hunger. I suppose it's the same as for you and I. Many of the things that we do for pleasure don't necessarily have a benefit from the point of view of feeding us. But if you were to look at our ancient history, there would be some kind of benefit to that behavior that would eventually lead to us either mating or eating, two of the most important parts of any animal's life. So I think the instincts are separate, and I think the best example of how that happens, or the best example I can give you in another environment, would be a house cat chasing a ball of string. It's definitely not thinking it's going to eat that ball of string. So we're just going to cruise up here slowly. Oop, we're going to hit some rocks here, so we're going to be very careful and get down into the grass here. Righty, an animal that is unable to hide in the long grass is the world's biggest land mammal, with Steve.
Indeed, it is very hard for a giant elephant bull like this to hide in the long grass. And if you are just joining us, welcome to CGTN Wild Wonderland live show, where we are right down in the south of the Mara Triangle, along the border with the Serengeti in Tanzania. And we have got a very big elephant bull that is moving away from us. I don't think he gets to see too many cars down here. He's trying to also bounce between the herds. He's trying to avoid all the noise that comes with the wildebeest. And the direction he's heading in, unfortunately, is where I have seen huge herds that Tristan was talking about, just on the other side of the border. Of course, an elephant bull like this doesn't need a passport. He just goes where he wants to go. And at the moment, he's heading straight for the Serengeti. Of course, the borders were put up by Europeans many years ago in a drawing room in Europe. Just drew the lines. And of course, the lines don't always correspond with how the animals like to move. Well, other animals that also don't need passports crossing this side to that side, David, is with a herd of buffalo.
Jumbo, and welcome to another part of the Mara. And seeing elephants is something nice, because we got some buffaloes here which are equally big but not as big as the elephants. Now, if you look carefully there, we got a heron. That's the black-headed heron. And heron, in general, you always see them in similar habitats, or in such habitats looking for something to eat. And she's perched up on a termite mound where she can see what she's looking at. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is David, and on camera with me is Bungay, and it's a warm welcome to another part of the Mara. And remember, we love to hear from you. Should you have any questions or comments, send them through on Twitter using hashtag CGTNWild or hashtag WildWonderland. I had buffaloes here, and my guess is most of these buffaloes here are boys, by virtue of their size and by virtue of their horns. They got very big horns. In general, that's one big difference between males and females: size, and also when you look at their horns, you can tell. And buffalo boys, or when you get the males on their own, they'll be in small groups, unlike the females and the males, and when they got the calves, forming a very huge group. Well, my plans are to look for some lion for you in this area that was seen yesterday. Hopefully, I'm going to see them. But in the meantime, I'll take you all the way to South Africa to my friend Jamie to say hello to all of you.
Hello, hello, and yes, indeed, David and I are actually on a very similar page, even though we're in two different places entirely. So I'm here in the Greater Kruger looking at a lion track, and Gigi's already mentioned just how massive those buffalo are. But first of all, a good morning, and my name is Jamie. Behind the camera is Craig. Now, this is a lion track. For 2 days, our lion prides have teased us. Buffalo back. Forwards and backwards and forwards. This track here, and I know it's difficult to see because the light is very grey, is a male lion track. It's roughly the size of my hand, and it is pointing in that direction. Now, we actually know where these lions are. They're on a buffalo kill. They finally managed to catch one not far from here. But the reason these tracks are important for me is because this pride has got a set of cubs. And this morning I saw a lioness walking in the direction of those cubs. Now, I think that she has gone to go and fetch the cubs and take them back to the kill. So we're waiting here to see when she comes across. So while we wait for her, Trish has been following up on those lions. Perhaps she'll have more news for you on the rest of the pride.
Are we good? No, it's fine, it's fine. Hello everyone, look at this is amazing. We've just managed to catch up with our lionesses. We've got the Nkahuma pride and one of the Avoca males, and they're feeding on a buffalo. We knew this was going to happen. The whole week we've been seeing the lions, we've been seeing the buffaloes, and this is happening right now live. My name is Trishala with Seb on camera, and you are watching CGTN Wild Wonderland live show. It is awesome. We've been waiting for this. Look at them go. This is unbelievable. Now, they must have gotten this buffalo last night, and we knew that it was going to happen. Now, I can tell you that the smell is quite horrendous, but these lions have gotten a meal. It is incredible. Now, we know that the Nkahumas used to be buffalo specialists. They haven't caught one in a while, but here they are showing us exactly why they are the specialists of these buffalo. Listen, listen. How muddy the underneath of that Avoca male is. It's actually not just mud, but it is all the liquids inside of that buffalo that have gotten out there. It's a very messy situation. And you can see that the lionesses are feeding on one side and the male on the other side, because he will, simply from his size and his strength, chase them off and eat as much as he wants before he decides to let those females come through. Just listen, just listen. It is absolutely insane. You're all correct. And how he manages to eat, tug on that meat, and still have that bellowing, vibratory roar from the underneath. I can feel it move through me in this vibration. Oh, here's the other two. Here's the other two. There they are. This is so special. We often just see two of the Avocas, but we've got all three here. We've got the mohawked male, the dark-maned male, and the blonde male. Absolutely insane. And this is what having a big buffalo kill brings. And you can see they haven't got through much of that carcass just yet. So they'll be feasting here for a while. Oh, you can listen to them crunching. Oh, another male's coming to eat. This is unbelievable. Robin, you are absolutely correct. All three at once. It's been a very long time since I've seen all three of them. Hello, you. Are you all full? That belly looks quite satiated. Unbelievable. Now, this is a very, very busy sighting. As you can imagine, everybody wants to have a go at this, have a look at this amazing sighting going on. So soon we will have to leave them. But I am so, so glad that we got to see this, and of course that you got to meet all three of the Avoca boys. In fact, let's learn more about them.
The Birmingham Coalition, former rulers of Juma, have moved south. Into the void have stepped the three Avoca males, now approximately 4 years old. Males normally have to fight for territory, but these millennial fellows arrived to find this prime lion real estate unoccupied. At first, the Unkahumas kept their distance, fearing for their youngest members. Relations have thawed slowly, but the male remains a threat, especially where meat is involved. Amber Eyes was the first lioness to extend an olive branch, through mating. The Avocas have assumed a territory and mating rights without so much as a scratch from the departing Birmingham boys. They certainly seem to be very comfortable in their new home.
Well, it's a little bit of a damp squib here, but nevertheless there is one of the Salt Lick Pride lionesses. There's another one in the grass beyond. We're not going to spend too long here. We're just going to sit with her for a little while and try and discern whether or not she's eaten. Now, I'm looking at her belly, and it doesn't look very full, so perhaps they had a small snack last night. There is an evil smell in the air, and that is because she has definitely had her morning toilet around here sometime in the fairly recent past. And you can see that the two of them have been lying in various spots around this area probably for the last few hours. But I don't think the cubs are here. And so we'll carry on looking for the little ones during the course of the morning. But definitely nice to catch up with the Salt Lick lioness, and amazing just to watch how quickly they disappear in the grass. And one of the very interesting things about that is that a human being evolved very much in these plains, and one of the reasons that we stand upright is that you can imagine walking through here as a quadruped, as somebody or some creature that walks on 4 legs. It's very difficult to see what is over the grass, and walking through here, if you're upright, gives you a much better chance of spotting a predator. And that's one of the reasons we think that we walk upright, perhaps, maybe. A nice question there about whether or not a lioness is able to take down a wildebeest on her own. The answer is absolutely yes. A wildebeest bull, this is from Rainbow D, a wildebeest bull probably weighs in the region of about, what are we looking at, James? The wildebeest, they're all over there. It weighs in the region of 250 kilograms or so. A lioness weighs in the region of 100 to 120 kilograms, and that is, she's strong enough to take down a wildebeest bull on her own. She'll take down a 300 kilogram zebra on her own as well. They're immensely powerful, and so yes, absolutely. And what's quite interesting is that lionesses who live on their own sometimes eat as much, in fact almost always eat as much as lions living in prides of 3 or fewer. So once they get bigger than that, say 4 or 5 lionesses, well then they probably eat about the same as a single lioness living on her own. So she doesn't live in a pride in order to eat enough. We think that lions live in a pride largely to keep their babies safe. She's just rolled over, James. Let's have a quick look at her belly. We'll be able to see now exactly which lioness this is, if she's one of the mothers or if she's eaten. Except her leg's in the way. Let's just give her a chance. Yeah, no, she's eaten something. She's definitely not one of the mothers. She's obviously not lactating. And she has got a fairly rotund belly. She might just call her friend now. Oh, she's very tired after a long night of hunting. She might just give an imperceptible call. There she goes. She's going to go and see if she can find her mate. And watch how quickly she disappears now into the grass. Look at this. Look how perfectly colored she is. And look how she disappears. And now if you were walking through here, how easy it would be to stand on a lion before you saw her. Isn't that cool? And there's the other lioness, somewhere in there. One of their favorite prey, when the migration is not in town, of course, is buffalo. And a big buffalo bull is an enormous challenge for a pride of lions.
Well, lions can camouflage, or will I say lions can hide in the grass. But if the animals that hide in the grass, that hide are buffaloes. If you see a buffalo like this in a mud wallow laying down, chances are you definitely miss him. Look at how dark he looks, and he looks very, very, very different. He's a male, and you can tell from the way he's looking. And if you've got animals that are, I would say, grumpy in Africa, this is it. Now, we're talking of animals that are dangerous. If two animals you don't want to take chances with in Africa are buffaloes and hippos. You can hear another car revving away, not wanting to come very close to that buffalo because for no apparent reason, these buffaloes will always attack. See how he looks? Now, we have seen lions here, especially in the Mara, where they'll always hunt buffaloes. And there he runs. I don't know why he's running, and that's not very good. So we have just to back up. That fellow had just to either run away. As I just said, they're always very grumpy animals for no apparent reason. He went charging apparently to another vehicle there, not sure why. So I have to back up and give this fellow some room here because you don't trust this particular buffaloes. They're always very, very moody. I'm going to just stop right here. So the car in front of us is which they tried to charge at for no apparent reason. And that's buffaloes for you. So these are animals you do not take chances with. They just get grumpy for no reason. Now he's going back to where he was. Let's quickly first go back to Tristan in Serengeti.
Well, there's just been a lover's spat that has broken out between these lions. So hunting is not on their mind, but the male is standing over the female on the left-hand side, which he's been following around and probably has been mating with. It's the same couples that we've been seeing over the last few days. And the female on the right came to join them, and the male took very big exception to it. And a bit of a scuffle broke out, and claws and paws and growling and hissing was the sort of name of the game. It seems as though they've kind of settled a bit now. The female immediately lay down and was submissive to the male. Ultimately, she doesn't really want to get into a proper fight with him because he is far too big and far too strong for her. And so immediately when she lies down and rolls on her side, she's showing to that male that she is submissive towards him. I thought maybe she was going to get up and move, but you can see both females are sort of almost cowering, and he's standing over them with much assertiveness and power. It's amazing to watch when these males do assert themselves. A lot of the time people see male lions and they're sitting and they're not really doing too much, but when they decide to show their strength and their power, it is absolutely amazing. But how beautiful is that view of these lions on the rock now? Like I say, it's the same couples that we've been seeing. So it's two different males that are in this coalition, and they're mating with two females, and there's a third female that's accompanying the pride. The female without the tail, she's also here, but is not in picture at the moment. She's on a different rock in a very difficult place, and so just the three of them that are visible for now. But that is absolutely magnificent, and to be able to bring this to you live on CGTN's Wild Wonderland live show is absolutely incredible. It is insane to see lions on rocks like this. It just makes them, I don't know, it makes them look that much more powerful, particularly because the way he's kind of standing and almost looking over his domain is really absolutely absolutely awesome. Now, I believe a lot of you are talking about how beautiful these lions are. Well, generally in East Africa, most lions are beautiful, and particularly around the migration period. There's so much food around for them that they feed super well, and that means that they always look as though they're in good condition. And then the males, unlike down in South Africa, where the males have to contend with very thick terrain, where there's constantly grasses and branches and trees that are pulling at their hair, here they have just grass really that they walk through, and so they tend to get much fluffier, bigger manes in this area. But absolutely wonderful. Now, I'm pretty sure they're going to wake up again just now and move about, and so we'll stick with them. In the meantime, though, back to the Masai Mara with Steve.
Thanks, Tristan, indeed. Lions do get to eat quite regularly up here, and this time of year they make the most of it. Look who we found. I think this might be the same pair David was with last night. It's about 300-400 meters away from where he dropped a location pin. And there's one very young, confused wildebeest that I don't think quite knows what it's doing. But one thing you must bear in mind, folks, is that when lions are in a mating sort of situation, they forget to eat. Good morning, everybody. If you are just joining us, my name is Steve Falconbridge, joined by Jandre Gerding on camera, and we are on the border with the Serengeti in Tanzania and the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and we have found a mating, well, we think a mating pair of lions. Those of you who were watching the show last night might be able to identify this beautiful male here. I didn't get to see the footage, but he's got really long locks on the top of his head. Normally when you find a male and female paired off like this, it's a very good chance that they are a mating pair. She is looking at that young wildebeest going, my tummy is rumbling a little bit. But with lions and with many animals, we are all driven by drivers. And those drivers are, and we talk about lions here, the need to mate, the fear of man, the fear of something, the need to eat, and all sorts of things are drivers on a daily basis, and each one of those can outweigh the other one. It's what makes a mating pair of lions quite dangerous, because they forget to eat for 3-4 days, and they can actually lose their fear of, normally they have a fear of man, and so they can sometimes lose that fear because the drive to eat outweighs that fear. That's also the reason why a lioness with cubs is extremely dangerous, because her need to protect her cubs outweighs any fear she might have for whatever it is approaching the position she's in. So she can be extremely dangerous when she's got cubs, and they can also be very unpredictable when they're in a mating situation like this, due to the fact that they're just very hungry. You know, have you ever felt that when you get home from a very long day? I know Jandre has experienced it with me over the last few days, where you say, I'm so hungry I could kill somebody. I'm sure many of you have felt that hangriness before in the past. It is a real deal. But we're going to sit here with this mating pair. Well, we think they might be a mating pair. It does get shorter and shorter, or should I say, the spacings between the mating get longer and longer as the days go by, but we'll be sure to show you the action as it unfolds. But in the meantime, let's jump just a few kilometers further south to Tristan with his lions in the Serengeti.
Well, as you can see, our lions are posing as epically as we could ever allow. I mean, they are up on the rocks. There's beautiful blue sky in the background. This is the lioness that got a little bit of sort of talking to by the male, and so she's now positioned herself slightly further away from him. He and the other female are behind a little bit of that rock and kind of just sitting there and taking it a little bit easy, and I think enjoying some sunshine, to be honest. For those of you that have just joined us, my name is Tristan, and it is a very big welcome to the Serengeti National Park. You can hear in the background probably that there's lots of wildebeest around, and these lions are kind of just watching the wildebeest for now. But at the moment, there's more important things on their mind than hunting. There's 2 mating pairs within this grouping at the moment, so there's 5 lions in total, 2 males and 2 females that are mating, and then this female that is kind of just following them around awkwardly at this stage. She might also come into an estrus cycle at some point and start mating, but for now she's just kind of on the fringes of this sort of mating period or mating behavior that's taking place. Now, when there's mating and there's a lot of this behavior, you do find quite a lot of aggression that takes place with the males. But it sounds like something exciting is happening in the Mara, so let's quickly send you back across to Steve.
Just in time. Isn't he gorgeous? That is by far the longest lion copulation I've ever seen. We asked for the link and they'd already started mating. And they were still busy when you came to us, which is quite surprising. So let's time it. I'm going to time it now. It's 8:05. Normally the shorter intervals goes to show how early on in the mating they are. The first day or so it's 7 to 8 minutes. Then by day 3 it starts becoming 18 to 25 minutes. Obviously it is also lion dependent. The man is generally always quite keen. It's the lady who gets up and she instigates. He just can't help himself when she moves. Her pheromones are flooding the air. His nostrils are awash with her scent. And he will not leave her side until those pheromones sort of abate. Hello, Lauren. I've never seen a maneless male lion. I have seen photographs, but I've never seen one in the wild. I do know that they did occur up in where was it? It was Amboseli, or one of those parks somewhere in Kenya. The documentary or the movie called The Ghost and the Darkness was actually a documentary about 2 maneless lions, although that movie shows maned lions. I don't know why they did it that way, but apparently they were maneless lions who behaved very strangely many, many years ago when they were building the railroads through that reserve. But I've never seen one. I'm sure one day I might get the opportunity. But this guy has got probably one of the most impressive manes that I've seen. Well, it's very interesting. She's gotten up already and moved. He hasn't followed her. I think he knows that the interval's way too short. It's only been 1 minute. She's probably going to go and have a little bit of a drink. Well, lions are very interesting creatures. The males will compete. The females compete with themselves. And, well, we need to learn lots about that.
While the big cats spend most of their time asleep, their waking hours are often filled with a violent conflict for mates, food, and territory. There is no room for chivalry amongst leopards. This grizzled old male thinks nothing of stealing food from a hard-working young female. The stability of a cheetah coalition's territory is often shattered by a fight for dominance. A lion's size will always deter its hyena cousins. But confronting the clan can shift the balance. But safety is not always found in numbers. Even a pack of wild dogs can fall prey to a stalking lion. This dog and cat debate is over.
Welcome live, and there's nothing as interesting as seeing the dynamics of lions. In general, the male coalitions are the ones that usually have conflicts, but once in a while, you'll get also prides, and I'm talking about the females also having issues amongst themselves. Now, we got a beautiful bird here, and this bird is called a hammerkop. For those of you who are joining us now, my name is David, and on camera is Bungay. Now, this bird here, the hammerkop, what she is doing, she is feeding on this little stream here, and they're always very patient birds, waiting for their prey. Remember, we are watching CGTN Wild Wonderland show, and we're coming to you live and currently from one corner of the Masai Mara. There's some of the birds that build some of the largest enormous nests you'd think of in the world, as much as she looks small. And the main diet are invertebrates. I'm talking of fish and the frog and the worms she might get there. Sometimes they feed on insects. So she's just waiting to see any movement in the water there, and she'll go right in. Look at her head and take the shape of a hammer. That's why we call her a hammerkop. And in general, they feed during the day, and they feed solitary. Very unusual to see them 2 or 3. You'll get one at a time. So any invertebrates in that water is what she'll be waiting for. Not very vocal, but at night you hear them like when they are flying out from one place going to roost. Well, I'm sure she is going to let me pass because this is the middle of the road, and once I go, I'll be looking for something else. In the meantime, we'll take you to Tristan, who still got his lions.
I hope the hammerkop lets you pass. I'm pretty sure it will, given that you're in a great big vehicle. And our lions, well, they're being as patient as that hammerkop in many respects because they're just watching thousands of wildebeest going past them. You can see the other mating pair is now joined up with the other 3. So this is the different mating pair to the one that was standing just now. This is a male that had lots of scars on him the other day, and the female without the tail that's sitting in front of him. And you can see how close the males lie to the females when they're mating. They don't really like to lie too far away. If they're not mating, then the males will often let the females drift quite far. But in a mating situation, they almost lie on top of each other. And you see the males are kind of staring at each other. The other male is off to the right of that one, and they're just watching each other and kind of looking. And I'm sure the scuffle that took place just now is what attracted these two to come and sit on this rock. They actually were on a different set of rocks completely, and they've kind of walked their way along and have come and positioned themselves not too far away at all. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's because the female would have wanted to investigate what was going on and why there was a fight in amongst the sort of pride at this stage. But amazing still to see them all kind of together. I didn't think that we would see them sitting all on the same place, and the reason why is generally because of mating. They normally separate away from the pride and actually walk quite far away. But I suppose at this time of the year, if there's so many of them mating within the pride, and there is only 3 females and 2 are mating, makes sense for all of them to stick together. And these rocky outcrops provide the perfect place for them to be able to do that. So they can get out of the long grass, they can get view of what's around them, as well as find shade. So Anna Marie, yes, male and females that are mating together may hunt together, and that's just out of sheer instinct. So let's say hypothetically this morning the wildebeest had walked right past them and they hadn't seen them, then well, they could have easily run out and grabbed one and fed on it. Ultimately, they still need to eat, and opportunities when they present themselves will be taken. So even though they're mating and their prime focus is not hunting, they will hunt if they get given the chance and if the opportunity presents itself. So it's by no means only a mating thing and there's no food. It just so happens that generally during mating they make so much noise and are so sort of exposed in their movements that it's spotted very, very easily. But in the migration like this, there's just so many animals around that, you know, the beginning part of the herd might see them, but the rest don't. And so that allows them the opportunity then to be able to hunt. Right, well, we'll sit with these guys and hope that the wildebeest start to come closer and that they maybe get interested. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to James, who's in the wildebeest herds of Kenya.
Here we have a nice mixed herd of wildebeest and some zebra there in the background. And what I want to do is just give you a description of the smell of things at the moment. At the moment, that's bit of a diesel smell as that car goes by. My name is James Hendry. We have got James on camera. There is his fully gloved thumb. It's not his thumb, it's his forefinger. Let's go back to the herds here. And as I described the smell of the wildebeest as being sort of half goat, half cattle, at the moment the breeze is coming from behind us. And so there isn't a very strong smell of wildebeest. There's a strong or gentle smell of fresh grass. And in the morning, it's a very crisp kind of dry, dustless air. And that's what it smells like. It smells very clean compared to the afternoon, which is often quite smoky and dusty, just as nice, but very different. It's very fresh. And you can also hear, of course, all the wildebeest. That's bulls shouting at each other. I just want to try and show you one of these bulls. James, can we go to that one there at roughly 3 o'clock? And you can see what he's doing. That one chasing there. There we go. You can see what he's doing is he's hassling the females into a little group. It's a bit of a waste of time because all of these females will be pregnant already. They mate around August time. So there's I'm not really sure why he would be doing that. Why he'd be trying to keep them together and chasing off other males. But you can see there as we focus on him that he's much bigger than the females. He's a good sort of 25% larger than the cows. And look at the beautiful mane he's got that streams down onto his back. There he is. Now he's chasing away a young bull. And they're very busy. They're doing this all day long. That canoeing noise is largely these guys. Isn't that cool? Right, a very distressing sighting going on down near the border with Tanzania. For this wildebeest, for Steve, it's great entertainment.
Thanks, James. Well, we don't see too many wildebeest around apart from that one little youngster. But this pair moved. She got up, as you saw when we linked away, and she moved good 50, 60 meters. He followed very close behind. It has been now almost 12 minutes. And he chased her through the little drainage. And she actually turned around and gave him a bop on the nose quite aggressively. Lions always seem to be very aggressive. You need to be very powerful and fierce to be a lion, to survive in the lion world. And what we think is aggression to them is just basically the way it is. You have to be strong and you have to be fierce to be a lion, and the fiercest and strongest of them all are the ones that get the right to breed and the right to send their lineage forward. And that goes for both females and males, and he won't let her out of his sights. He's far bigger than her, would easily be able to dominate her if he wanted to, but there's more on his mind than fighting at the moment. But if he did see another male, that would make him get rather upset. And male lions fighting over females, if they are a coalition, it often looks extremely violent, but it's really just a dominance thing. When they fight over territory, it's far, far more fierce than that. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with this mating pair. We're watching the clock, and while we do that, let's send you over to David with a herd of elephants.
Well, got some elephants here. And talking of dominancy, looking at the elephant's kingdom, the females here, just like in the hyenas, normally pull the shots. So we got elephants being very matriarchal, and we'll always get one female being in charge. Now look at them. They seem all to be walking in a line, and maybe that's why we call them a parade of elephants. When you look at the collective nouns of animals in Africa, for the elephants we always say a parade of elephants. Christine, that's a very good question, and you're wondering whether elephants do cross the river. Christine, 100%. Elephants cross the river, and I tell you, they cross the river at will. unlike wildebeest, when they'll always come and pose and look at the dangers and, of course, calculate and judge how steep the banks are, elephants will know exactly where to cross from, and they come straight through to the other end. And I'll tell you, Christine, unlike wildebeests, elephants, as much as they look big, they weigh a lot more than wildebeest. They're very good swimmers in the water. Now, this parade is being led by two boys, two youngsters, and I would guess the matriarch could be the one at the back there, maybe pulling shots and telling them exactly where to go. And it's a very young calf there. And they're all being hidden by the red oat grass, which ideally they do not feed on. They tend to look for the shorter grass, which is more nutritious, got more vitamins, got more minerals, and more so for a lactating cow. How wonderful is this? They're not flapping their ears as much because it's not as cold. And we all know they use their ears to regulate the body temperatures or to cool off. So the one in front there is a boy to me. And if you look between his legs, you can tell he's just trying to take the mantle to lead the herd, as much as all instructions and commands are given by the matriarch. It's a very typical size of a herd of elephants, which always range anything from 8 to 15. Very, very nice, and we have perfect light. I'll spend a few more minutes here with these elephants, seeing whether they'll come pretty close to the car. But in the meantime, let's go to some lions on top of the rock with Tristan.
There's no better way to spend a morning than with Ellie's, in my opinion. I thoroughly enjoy spending time with Ellie, so I can understand why David is going to spend more time with him. You can see our lions are slowly but surely sort of winding down for the morning at this rate. There's the one female that's got her head up and is having a little bit of a grooming session at the moment while her partner sleeps in the background. And often when you see lions grooming like this at this time of the day, it's in preparation for a good nap. They like to be able to clean themselves after they've walked around a bit, and this female and male, when we first found them, actually crossed over two different rocky outcrops to get to this one, and so she'll just be grooming herself, making sure she gets off any grass or anything like that. Now, is he going to mate with her? I think he's noticed that she's awake. Oh, look at that, he's going to come in and sniff where she's been. Now, often when they sniff like that, it's maybe because she's urinated in that area, and that's where he can pick up whether she's receptive for mating. We obviously know that they have been mating over the course of the last few days, but he's just making 100% sure. You might see him do a phlegm and grimace after he's been sniffing there. I'm sure this female is not exactly enjoying his head right up against her. There you go, you can see she's now moving again, and you can see he's kind of going to follow her. Wherever she goes, he'll follow very, very quickly and make sure that he walks between her and the other male and make sure that he kind of keeps her to himself. I think they're going to try and see if they can find a little bit of shade, which is exactly what they've done. That female has pushed herself into the thickest bush possible, and the male is now just scent marking behind that bush just to make sure that everybody knows that that's his female. Right, now talking about mating pairs, it seems in the Mara there's another mating pair that side, and I wonder if they are looking for shade like these two.
Thanks, Tristan. Well, I think our male is sulking a little bit after this young lady disciplined him when he followed a bit too close. His head is down, he's catching some rest. It's been 17 minutes since their last little affair. But it's not often you see a female move after they've mated. Normally they sit and they just lie where they are. And they don't normally move within the 3-4 days of mating. They don't normally move more than a few hundred meters from where they start their little love affair. But he will often put his head down like that to rest. And then as soon as she moves, he's up behind her, following very closely. So we might get another go before the end of the show, but the time is definitely pushing. Okay, well, while we sit here and wait to see if our lovely couple has the energy to continue their love affair, let's go over to James with some of the cleanup crew.
tilt up. There we go. Here we have the big bully boy of the skies, that is the Lappet-Faced Vulture. And you can see many vultures have been sitting in this tree on account of the fact that you can see it's covered in their dung. Now, I have always wondered to myself what one has to have done in a previous life to be born something other than a Lappet-Faced Vulture, or what you have to do to be born a Lappet-Faced Vulture, because nothing is able to dominate a Lappet-Faced Vulture, and if you happen to be born a hooded vulture, everything dominates you. And so I suppose if you happen to find yourself at a wildebeest carcass as a hooded vulture, you must wonder to yourself what you did wrong, and as a Lappet-Faced, what you perhaps did right. Enormous bird. It weighs in the region of 9 kilograms, which for a flying bird is very heavy, and it has a wingspan of more than 2 meters, which I think is very impressive indeed. So, from one of the biggest flying birds in the world, we're going to go across to David, who is one of the tallest men in all the Masai Mara.
Yesterday I saw a dead wildebeest, which I would guess died naturally. And I'll tell you, I don't know what we could do without the vultures. And of all the 7 true vultures we have in Kenya, or rather in East Africa, the Lappet-Faced that James just had is the only one that got the right tools to open up any animal that dies naturally here, even including the elephants. They got very strong beaks, very strong talons, and they're just like surgeons to tear open any animal that could be dead to the other scavengers like hyenas. Well, I haven't moved from where I was because these elephants here have given me a roadblock, just like the little bird I had before, the hammerkop. But look at what she has done here. She picked some grass, and what elephants will always do, they use their trunks to uproot the grass, and first they'll always shake it up, to get the soil out of the grass before they swallow it. And the process of shaking it up, sometimes they want to spin it up in the air, and it landed on top of her head. And that is pretty exciting. And looking at that grass, you can see how different it is from the red oat grass. And you see how synchronized that flapping or flicking of ears it was. And right below that cow there's a very young calf. I'm sure Bungay will show you. And of all the animals of Africa, elephants are my favorite animals. Kito, I agree with you. Look at her. And maybe I'll guess also she could be the matriarch of this particular herd here. The way she's behaving, she's like the matriarch. Now, the one on the left, she has kept coiling her trunk a few times, not exactly sure what she wants to do. And at one point, I thought, it was behaving like a snake here in Africa that we call the rock python, the African rock python. When the African rock pythons get their prey, they always coil their bodies against their prey just to constrict them and kill them. So let's very quickly get across to Trish.
Trish is very, very excited because we have our little cubbies here. Let's have a quick look before they run off. Can you see them there, Seb? Come on, little ones. Okay, there's our lioness. She's just through there. There she is. Come on, little ones, bob up. There they go. Oh, how beautiful is this? This is our very own Nkahuma Pride little ones there, and that is the Regino's lioness. Oh, they are the most adorable little things in the entire world. Oh, but we've got to be very careful with a sighting like this. It's sensitive, so we don't want to get too close to her and definitely not too fast. So let's go a little bit forward. We're actually going to maybe take the road instead of following her in the thickets, just because we don't want her to get nervous at all.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you. There you get to see the perils of bush driving right there. Oh, I am so glad we've caught up with them, because that means this afternoon they may very well be on our property, and that would just be awesome for this afternoon's show. There they go. But thank you for all your questions and your comments, and we'll see you this afternoon at 4 p.m. Central African Time. Bye for now.